This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us, Karen.
You bet. Hi, everybody. Really appreciated the opportunity to listen in to your earlier discussion. And a long process. So my name is Karen Chase. I work for the Energy Trust of Oregon. And we're a nonprofit. We serve all over the state of Oregon, but not everywhere in the state of Oregon, and also in Southwest Washington. We serve the customers of the larger utilities, the investor-owned utilities that are regulated by the Oregon Public Utilities Commission. And when I say we serve those customers, what I mean is that we are essentially contracted as a nonprofit through the Oregon Public Utilities Commission to administer the energy efficiency and renewable energy programs, or a majority of them for those utilities. So it's a third party. And yeah, so we're a nonprofit. You know, people sometimes think we're government. We're not government. Or they think of us as the utility. We're not the utility. We're a nonprofit, and we bridge all of those different entities to ensure that we, as the ratepayers, as the people who are paying the bills, whether it's Avista or Pacific Power, that we have access to funding that is intended to reduce the amount of energy that we use, in other words, energy efficiencies, or generate clean energy, as renewable power like solar power. So we are overseen by the Oregon Public Utilities Commission. So in that regard, we're really an unusual kind of nonprofit in a way. I don't know of any other nonprofit that is actually overseen by a state agency. So anyway, I've been, I have a little presentation, but I'm almost wondering if it might not be more useful to ask you guys what you might want to know about energy. And before we go there, I want to just say too that I live in the Illinois Valley. I've been evacuated 4 times, including in the Slater fire that started at the same time the Alameda fire started. And I've been Energy Trust's lead for fire recovery since the fall of 2020, statewide. And including with like the Bootleg fire. I'm actually in Lake County tonight, working over here. So I serve all of Southern Oregon, but you know, we're gonna just continue to see these fires. The Bootleg fire was a terrific with the word terror at the root of that again, right? Type of fire, huge fire. So I think that so much of what we've done has changed over these years. I think everybody's trying to adapt and sort of readjust their programming to serve what are the needs today, instead of what the needs were 8 years ago or 10 years ago or even 20 years ago. And I will say I'm really proud of my organization for being out front. I think that that's really due in part to the nimbleness of being a nonprofit, which allows us, even though we're highly sort of regulated, we are still a nonprofit, as opposed to some of the agencies that really, the state agencies, everybody was like, come on, where's that funding? And it took 1.5 years to get that funding even available. But we worked with the agencies, and we continue to work closely with Department of Energy and building codes. And we tried to coordinate with them so that people who had lost their homes were able to layer our funding. So there was a lot of behind the scenes work. And I will say that I've been a long time worker in the state. I came out of 3 different state agencies. I worked for Oregon Housing. I worked for Oregon Department of Energy. I've been with Energy Trust now for 8.5 years. Until this, I have never seen this kind of coordination. Oregon Housing coordinating. I mean, when I worked for the state agencies, they were incredibly siloed. They did their thing and they didn't pay any attention to what anybody else was doing. And so I thought it was amazing from my perspective to see, we often would put out the word that we wanted to do a webinar for fire survivors, and we would invite Odo and we would invite building codes and we would invite Oregon Housing, and everybody came together to do it. It's really a first. And, my God, if we can't come together, then when would we, So I really, I have a lot of praise for the state agencies because it's so much harder for state agencies to adjust. It's like trying to move a big ship around in a river, but they did it. And so I put in the chat the Oregon Housing link, since you guys were talking about the manufactured homes. You probably already know all that, but anyway, there's a little background. I've been at this with like the LTRGs all over the state since they started up a month or 2 after the fires, several months, I guess. And every fire recovery, it has been different. Every single one has been really, really different. Nobody saw the destruction that Jackson County saw. So there's a way in which what you're doing, even now, right? Much longer after the fire, you're living what it's like to try to recover from an incredible disaster that very few people in this country have really experienced in this way. It is a long process. And everything that you're doing will help it next time, right? This is this truly live and learn process that we are so ingrained in now. It's very likely that I could see these, you all on my screen as being the teachers for the next round, wherever that may be. So that's a little background on, sort of where I'm coming from and what I do. I have some slides I can show you about our organization, give you some background if that's of interest, or I could just talk, answer questions. We could hold discussion. Completely open.
About how long do you think your slideshow might last?
I could probably move through it in about, I don't know, 8 or 10 minutes, my guess.
I think it might be helpful just to have a little more background about what you guys do.
Okay. Am I going to be able to share my screen, Erica?
I think so. Let me know if you can't.
Okay, let me see here. It depends on how much bandwidth I have out here in Lakeview too. Let's see. All right, I'm going to go to the first slide. Are you able to see this?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is the delineation of our service territory. Uh-oh. I'm getting
we can still see your
Zoom
screen,
just quit on me.
but your sound is a little fragmented.
Okay, I'm gonna
If it's too complicated, don't worry about it. We can all just talk. No worries.
Here it is. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I'm back. Yay.
Yay.
Thanks. Hey, I'm going to turn off my video and that might help.
Okay, let's try that.
All right, and let me try to share that screen again. And share. All right, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So this is our service territory with the utilities that work with us in the lower right-hand corner. Any other utility in the state is not an investor-owned utility, meaning they're not like publicly traded, you know, like all of these are all publicly traded utilities. Otherwise, they're a municipal utility, like Ashland has a municipal electric utility. We serve Ashland for natural gas with Avista, or it's PUD, Public Utility District, or a cooperative. Douglas County has an electric cooperative. So, and this area here is basically my service area up to Bend and out to Coos Bay. And right now I'm sitting here in Lakeview. But I've got counterparts that, you know, serve all these other areas. But for the fire recovery, you know, we had the Otis fire up here in Lincoln City. We had the fire out here in Estacada, the Riverside fire. We had the Santiam Canyon fire. There was the big fire east of Eugene, Holiday Farm. That was not in my service territory, so I did not get involved with that LTRG. But Archie Creek fire in east of Roseburg, that was one of my fire, South Open Chain, that's in my service territory. And of course, well, Slater fire didn't actually take out any significant, like no residences, thank goodness, but it came within a hair of friends' houses down in Tacoma. Anyway, so this is who we serve, and you can see how they're color coded by utility. Here's a quick little summary of Energy Trust, where we have 1.8 million customers. And again, we work in energy efficiency and renewable energy. This is our vision, pretty simple and basic, clean, affordable energy for everyone. And here's our purpose: to help customers and communities reduce costs and realize additional benefits by saving energy and using renewable resources. Why do we care about clean energy? Energy efficiency is if you think about it this way: if you're still using an incandescent light bulb, you're using, let's say, 100 watts of power every time that light bulb is turned on. And you could replace that today with a 10 watt or even an 8 watt LED light bulb, saving 90% of the energy, 90% savings just off of switching out a light bulb. That's an energy efficiency upgrade on a really small scale, right? But really simple. And if you think about energy efficiency in the bigger sense of things, you could be looking at like ductless heat pumps, or heating and air, heating systems, air systems. Windows are energy efficiency. Certainly insulation in homes is a big deal around energy efficiency. And for every $1 that you invest in energy efficiency, you save way more than that in bill savings, because every time you make an energy efficiency upgrade, you're saving money on into the future. And that's what we do. We create ways, we have to find the best ways to save energy or create renewable energy. And every year we come up with a new set of energy efficiency upgrades for which we offer incentives. A little schematic around communities and all the ways in which energy benefits communities. Our programs cross the gamut of energy use, everything from residences to businesses to agriculture to industry. And this is a summary slide of essentially what we do. We provide cash incentives to us, ratepayers, for energy upgrades, renewable energy systems, and feasibility studies to learn whether something new has the ability to be an energy efficient upgrade or a renewable energy system. We offer expert guidance We do evaluations and walkthroughs in many situations, businesses and industry. We provide information and education, sort of like what I'm doing right here tonight. And we like to think that we're very effective in market transformation. What does that mean? That means that all of these things we invest in here and help us all invest in here eventually changes the market, transforms the market. For example, who buys an incandescent light bulb anymore? That was a market transformation that was instigated through energy efficiencies. Here are examples of what currently qualifies for incentives and rebates. And here is the residential stuff, and this is just an example. But for single family manufactured homes. And with regard to the fires, I will say that our focus was here on new construction and manufactured home replacement. We already had a manufactured home replacement program. We amped it up with added incentives, and then worked with Oregon Department of Energy and Oregon Housing and Community Services to layer dollars so that you had a much heftier amount of money available to you to get that home replacement. And earlier people were talking about the Oregon Housing Rehome program that will literally replace a home that was lost if you can qualify for it. But these are just examples of some of the other things that we provide funding for through incentives. And we're not working in a vacuum. So here we are, Energy Trust, serving utility customers, but we answer to a board. We also have advisory councils. We also answer to the Public Utilities Commission. We interact with all of these agencies and the utilities and the other organizations that are involved in energy in Oregon and in the Northwest. And then we have a whole network of trade ally contractors that do the work and community-based organizations that work with us to help deliver our message and our incentives in their own communities. And I think this is probably almost my last slide, but this is really, I mentioned earlier how all of us are trying to figure out how we have to change what we do to meet the new age and our future. So we're really far more community focused. That was part of my job. I came into this organization in a brand new position. I was one of the first 2 people ever to be hired outside of the Portland area. I've always lived in Southern Oregon. And so that over these 8 years has really grown to become this more community focused programming. We work with a lot of community-based organizations around our service area. We've got a small grant program that I'll make sure that you all know about. I think that's going to be coming open here again. We also help support AmeriCorps Rare. It's an AmeriCorps program out of the University of Oregon, and they have a program that brings young people who are doing specific work in energy, and we help support those. And in fact, I'm out here working with one, and I'll be working with one in Klamath Falls the next day. And then resilience. We all talk about it, but Energy Trust has really been working a long time on how to instigate more resilience, both residential and businesses and ag. And the focus here really is, I would say, mostly around solar energy and then solar plus storage, like battery storage. But for in the fire recovery, we did a lot of research and found building measures that made buildings more fire resilient, that also had an energy savings component to them. And we integrated those into our new homes incentives program. So new construction, we could incentivize these 3 things. It had to do with sealing of attics and triple pane windows, for example. These are all fire resilient measures that also save energy. And here's my contact information, and also our social media and our website. So I'm going to stop sharing. And just, out the door here, just if you have any questions, or, I'm really happy to, I really love anything around energy and building and climate change and what we're having to face in the future. Working with the young people I have in the field through the AmeriCorps Rare program, happy to entertain any questions or talk through concepts with you.
I said something about living roofs, like some sort of grass on roofs. Is that something that is feasible in Southern Oregon?
Oh yeah, Joseph, absolutely. So living roofs, it's not a new concept at all.
No.
It's been around for a long time, and it's not always been implemented successfully. Just another little piece of background on me. I'm actually a public health person. I spent 2 decades doing occupational health out in every kind of workplace imaginable. And one of my areas of expertise is water incursion in buildings and the subsequent issues to dealing with mold and mildew and decaying buildings. And so when this idea around living roofs, where we would have living plants that needed water on rooftops, I thought that was like nuts. I couldn't imagine that you'd want to put dirt and water and plants and with root systems on the tops of buildings. It didn't make any sense to me at all until I met this builder in Portland who does it and has done it incredibly successfully multiple times. And he convinced me of this and told me that, in fact, it is more cost effective for him to build a living roof. And he builds big multi-story buildings. He puts living roofs on his rooftops, and the tenants get to garden and do whatever they want to up there. But his point to me was that it is easier, it's more cost effective for him to have a living roof than it is for him to have a structural roof, because the structural roof gets ice and snow and rain and pounded with sunlight, and that's really hard on structural materials. Whereas his living roof literally protects it. And I couldn't tell you what the makeup is, but the key is in how you membrane protect that roof, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really the big part.
I wonder if there would be a way to raise awareness with the city council here in Ashland, and create a moratorium or just to do something different than just more boxes, metal boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And have a roof that would actually contribute to the betterment of the ecology.
Do you live in Ashland?
Yeah, I lived at Bear Creek Mobile Home Park for many years, and it's just got hotter and hotter and hotter. And finally, in 2019, it was as soon as I broke a sweat, I'd overheated. It was weird.
Mm.
So the heat, yeah, the sunlight reflects off the mountains, and at a certain time of day, it just gets really hot, and the buildings are, just increasing the buildings, and so I'm wondering about the environmental impact statement. Would there be a land use impact statement? Do you know anything
Boy,
about
I have no idea. You
No.
probably need to talk to
energy
the
efficiency?
city.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, that's my question.
Okay, thank you for that.
Joseph, you were talking about applying for one of the energy grants. Do you remember which one it was?
The rebate?
The rebate, yeah.
Yeah, it's the what neem rebates.
Oh, all right. Yeah, so you got one of the Neem homes.
Yeah, it's a kit.
Oh, right on. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to work with the guys that helped implement that the NEEM 2 standard here in Oregon.
Oh wow.
That's a good home.
It is. It's I can keep the door open at certain times of day, and yeah, it's pretty fancy.
Right
Raised,
on. Good for you.
yeah, it has raised ceilings. I want to do a second floor in it.
How sweet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do lofts. I took a shower. I thought, geez, I could do a loft in here.
That's
So
great.
you're through that process, Joseph.
No, I was going through my paperwork, and I just have one more packet. I've been dealing with this, gosh, since November, so that's 3 months back and forth, and then yeah, so.
Wow. What else do you guys want to know about energy or energy use or?
Well, I have a question, but I want to see what else the group has.
Wondering
The
about
only one
Go ahead.
The only thing I would ask is there a program? So we lost our place in the fire. We bought an older house. Matter of fact, the heat pump, my fan stopped working. So we've been running on heat strips all weekend. But yeah, the bill's gonna be pretty hefty. But anyway, is there a program that could help us? It's 2011. Yeah, the lifespan I think is like 15 years. So we're already at 11, right? 22, actually 12 years. So I don't know if it's is there a program where they can help us get a new heat pump?
Yes, there are heat pump programs, Sherry, and here's what I'm going to do. Oopsie. I'm going to put my email in the chat again, okay? So that you have it.
Yeah, that ain't gonna help me, honey. I'm not technically inclined.
Okay.
I can get it to Sherry. I can get it.
Erica can send it.
Okay. All right. I'll put it in here, Erica. But yeah, so if you get me Sherry's contact information.
Sure.
Yeah, so Sherry, our homes program, our residential program, we do have incentives, cash incentives to help with a better product, right? And we're not paying for the whole thing, but although we might in one case, but anyway, but we have cash incentives to close the gaps to make them more affordable and to make sure you're getting the most energy efficient product.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Erica, she's got my phone number, and I'm not a computer person. I don't like email. I don't like any of that stuff.
Yeah, Erica, if you just send me her contact stuff, Sherry, I'll have my residential guy's name is Dan Pierce, and I'll have him follow up with you. Okay.
Cool. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will definitely get that to you.
Erica,
Yeah,
I would like that information also if possible.
sure. Yeah.
Great.
I don't.
What stuff are you looking for, Linnell?
I also bought an older mobile home. Access helped me with installation, but I
Great.
think the heat pump, is older. And I was thinking if I could get some information, follow up, and maybe there's a couple of things. I've got some drafts. I don't think my
Oh,
ducting
yeah.
sealed.
Okay, so one thing that I can tell you is that we have a program for duct sealing in manufactured homes that's completely no cost.
Yep.
And Dan will help connect you with the folks that do that as well. So just, get your info to me and remind me what it is you're looking for.
I do it that
I
one.
cannot see the chat, so I don't have your.
Okay.
I can help.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Let's see, I'm sending you Sherry's stuff right now.
Oh, good.
I wanted to pipe in really quick here, Karen, and ask, I'm loving hearing that you have a program for so many of the needs that are coming up here. I'm really excited to hear that there's some answers. Is there, can you tell us a little bit about what the application process looks like with your programs? And what are some of the, are there financial guidelines, as far as income limits and that kind of thing goes? Can you just give us a quick
Yeah, I can. I might have to look it up here. Hang on just a sec while I'm capturing Sherry's stuff. Yeah, so we've got two broad categories of incentives. One, the one set of incentives is basically available to everybody. Everybody who pays in to the Energy Trust funding, which is through Pacific Power or through Avista in Jackson County. So anybody who wants to get, this kind of a system, will give them this much money. And then we have a program called Savings Within Reach, which is for moderate income and less customers. And if I can here, without breaking my system again, I will tell you what those income limits are, but pretty much people qualify for them. Let's see.
So Karen, while you're looking for that, I actually participated with my old home that burned.
Okay.
We actually replaced all the windows and the slider door, and did an Energy Trust cashback incentive on that.
Oh, right on. So you're familiar with these programs?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's
all right.
it's fairly simple. I mean, it was back then.
I'm looking at the income levels to qualify for the higher levels of incentives. And that is one would be a maximum of 58,688 and two people 76,744. And it goes up from there.
I wish I had that kind of money yearly.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Everybody ends up pretty much qualifying in almost all of my regions. All of my regions. So it's an increased incentive, not for everything, not for every incentive, but for a lot of the important ones.
And then do you have any incentives that are specifically fire survivor focused, or is it just kind of an overall?
Yeah, Katie, there are. And I don't have a list of those in front of me, but I can just, let me see if I can kind of tell you out of memory. So for manufactured home replacements, so we have a standard incentive for anybody that wants to replace a manufactured home. And it's not a lot of money. It's a handful of, I don't know, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. But if you qualified as a as somebody who was replacing your home because it was lost through disaster of the fire, it was a lot more. I want to say it was like maybe $15,000. And so when you took that and then you layered on the ODO money, or Oregon Department of Energy money, Oregon housing money, building codes money, it ended up to be a pretty hefty chunk. And I could probably dig around on the websites and see that list, but I'm going to guess that you've seen that somewhere already. Anyway, we had a pilot program for manufactured home park low-income replacements, and we modified that for fire recovery. So anyway, there's a significant amount. So that was fire specific. And then if you were rebuilding your home, there was also increased incentives. I want to say it was twice as much as somebody who was just building a home could get to build an energy efficient home. Plus, there were the incentives, added incentives if you tacked on the fire resilience measures. And again, that was in addition to the funding from the other agencies or the other organizations. So rebuilding a stick-built home or obtaining manufactured home replacements. Is that helpful?
Okay, awesome. Yes, thank you.
Linnell, do you use email?
I have email, yeah.
I provided your phone number to Karen, but I don't think I have your email.
Okay. It's well, actually, it could be sent to my telephone number or to NELL97520 at gmail.com.
Great. Thank you.
Can you send me a copy of the chat this time?
Yes.
That way I can have these numbers too.
I took a picture of your slide with your contact info, Karen. So
Oh, great.
that's
Oh,
my
good.
strategy.
Good thinking. Yeah.
So I have a question, but like I said, I don't want to preclude other questions. So anyone else for Karen?
I'm just going to put my name into the contact list and have them get a hold, because I've got questions about things my house might have qualified for that I didn't know about. Is some of the programs retroactive?
Some of them are. All the state programs were retroactive, Walter. Did you do a stick-built home?
Yes.
Okay. Do you, and was it in Ashland or was it in one of our areas?
Phoenix.
Okay. Do you know if you signed up under our energy performance score program?
I did not sign up under that. If I would have, I would have got another $7,500 out of the Department of Energy's grant.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I could still qualify for that if they've got money left, if I can get somebody to come by and see if my house meets the standards for that. But
okay, that's a good question. Who is your builder?
Bunton Construction.
All right. Yeah, you know what? If you give me, there's going to be a simple answer, and I don't know what it is, but Cheryl on my team who does our new homes program, Cheryl Lacombe, she worked with all the builders in doing the new stick build homes and signing people up for our energy performance score new homes program. She's going to know what that answer is pretty quickly.
Well, I dropped my name.
I got it.
There, so okay.
Yep, I got it. Thank you, Walter. And I'm going to make a note on this. Cheryl.
Do you want my phone number as well?
No, she'll probably email you.
Okay.
Retroactively for Odo. So Okay. And I am, I'm so sorry. Liddell, will you, so I'm gonna have Dan connect with you, right? Because you're interested in heat pump, and same thing with Sherry.
And I have some questions, yeah.
Okay,
Do you have more questions, Lino?
No, I just, I have some questions probably talk to Dan about.
Okay, yeah.
okay, yeah, no, he's, I don't have that technical mind.
So
In
do you
fact,
have what you need to put him in touch with Linnell?
I do. I took it right off the chat.
Great, perfect.
All right, what else? I mean, ideally, you end up after this massive loss, and this protracted time to not only rebuild or reacquire a house and your lives, ideally, that, we hear that term build back better. Ideally, you end up in a structure that is in fact better, that will in fact cost you less in the long run to operate, right? That it's just a more energy efficient home, fewer greenhouse gases, more comfortable, etc. I mean, it's kind of like the least you could ask, right? And my goal for the rebuilding is that we end up with better buildings that serve us better and cost us less to operate in the long run.
It's a good goal. Yeah. So my question is a little bit far out compared to probably some of the more specific ones you heard earlier. One day we were on one of these meetups and I think we were talking about a bike. Maybe Joseph was looking for a bike. And we started talking about where you could find a bike. And then it kind of triggered a memory I had of talking to the director of our organization of Firebrand Resiliency Collective about his experience with Alameda Fire and him having some experience setting up solar installations and trying to figure out how to power the community with, when the power was out. And so I guess my question is, have you guys done any strategizing or looking at what communities can do, what energy efficient solutions there might be out there for when communities don't have power?
Oh, yeah.
Fire scenarios?
Yeah, so this is part of that community resilience stuff.
Yeah.
I am amazed at how there is not a week that goes by that someone is not calling me, asking me, in a disaster, how do we maintain our hospital operations? In a disaster, how do we maintain our water system? That was just last week. A community said, here's our water system. When we lose power or the big earthquake comes, how can we sustain, right? And so people are really asking this all the time. We're all learning this together. And you wish that we were out ahead of all this stuff, but the reality is that we only do stuff when we have to. And I'm so grateful for some of the people that work in my organization have been thinking about this and working on this stuff for years now. There were already solar experts. Now they're adding the whole battery piece to it. How do you become resilient? And what does it mean to be resilient? And even if you have solar and battery backup, how long is that going to last? How do you regenerate that, right?
Yeah.
That's
where the bike idea came in, right? If we
I gotcha. Yeah. People power. Yeah. We have this. I don't even know if he's still around. Charlie Green out in the Illinois Valley, an engineer who many years ago already had devised a car that was powered regeneratively through people power in the car pedaling. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a Flintstones thing. There was actually a motor, right? But it was being turned with people power. Anyway, yeah. One way or another, you have to generate power. I just heard this quote yesterday, I want to say, maybe on the news, but somebody was saying that power is what allows us to, sort of function in a civil democratic world, right? It's like when the power goes out for any length of time, you really start to see what it's like, right? I mean, I think about the people in Ukraine right now.
Yeah.
We rely on power. We work on power.
Yeah.
And the utilities honestly have a tough job in keeping the grid and our entire complex system moving forward. That's a huge job.
Yeah.
It's a huge job.
Yeah. Well, I know that a lot of the incentives I mean, maybe not as much now, but initially when there was a big push towards renewables, a lot of the incentives were sort of geared for, if you are making enough renewable, you can feed it back into the grid, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't do you any good if there's not a grid, but I just wonder if there's some sort of, if you're off the grid and you're producing renewable energy and in an emergency, you could supply power for the community.
Yeah.
If that might ever be incentivized.
Yeah, not by us, it wouldn't, because we are working for the customers who are on the grid.
Right.
They're the ones who are paying into this fund. That's how they get the benefit out of it. So if you're off the grid, you can't come to me and ask for funding, right? Because you're not paying into it.
Yeah.
So, but what you're bringing up is a really good question. I think what this triggers for me is the question of, what does our future grid look like? And what are we going to be asking of it? And one of the things that we're seeing more and more are what are called microgrids. And what that is, I mean, it could be a single building. It could be a neighborhood. It could be a block. It could be a whole community, but it's a way in which that entity has enough ability to self-generate power, let's say from solar and batteries, that if the whole grid goes down, it can generate enough for its microgrid to keep operating, even if, and you have to kind of consider this in phases, because the primary thing you want to make sure is running are those critical infrastructure items.
Yeah.
Your public communications, the refrigeration for people's medications, right? Those things, the hospitals, the things that need to run, get primary. Water treatment plants. So I think what you're talking about is completely doable. I think it's happening now on a smaller scale, and that those are the things that we'll end up building out.
Yeah. Who do you see I mean, how does that get developed, the microgrid concept?
That I'm not an expert in at all, but I can tell you that people are doing it. I think Portland General Electric, I think, has done a kind of pilot program in Portland. So if you've ever been over to the coast and you drive down to Arcata, there's I want to call it Blue Lake Rancheria, the tribal area down there. They are on a microgrid, and a couple of years ago when the grid went down in Northern California, they were the only power. They were self-powering, and so if people needed gas, they could go there and buy gas at the service station. So they had their own microgrid, and that was an experimental project that was done out of the university in Arcata with them.
Yeah, that's neat. I'll look it up.
It is neat.
Yeah,
it's really neat.
good idea.
And, I think ultimately it's really good for us because what it allows us to do is disconnect when needed from everything else so that we're not interrupted by what's going on elsewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a great question.
Thanks for noodling on it.
Yeah, I know. It's our future.
Any other
What
questions?
else? Well, it's really been a pleasure, and I appreciate you. I really appreciate your persistence in getting me here. That's really and your patience with me. So thanks very much, and I will definitely be reaching out to my field staff and make sure that that you guys get somebody in touch base with you.
Great.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Karen. We're all really appreciative of you coming and joining. And yeah, thank you.
Well, right back at you guys. I'm super appreciative of what you're doing and really setting the model for all of us for the next disaster. So thanks for carrying on.
These types of energy incentives come up a lot in this group over time. They don't come up every meeting, but they resurface frequently, and so it's definitely a hot topic. So very pertinent.
Great. I'm glad you're interested. I'm wishing you all a more energy efficient future.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good
night.
everyone.
Bye-bye.